How's it going, everybody? Today's video is going to be about loneliness and how ME and CFS can really cause loneliness because of how isolated you are from the social activities you used to have, from work. Many people with ME and CFS are completely bedbound, housebound, and even if they have family members around, they're often isolated in a room. People who are on the more severe end of the spectrum have not left their room in months or years. People even in the moderate part of the ME CFS spectrum oftentimes are laid out most of the day. So they no longer get to socialize with friends. Sometimes they live alone and just don't see people for really long periods of time. Many people with ME and CFS, their spouse leaves them, or their boyfriend or their partner, because they can't deal with someone who's chronically ill and in bed a lot or all the time. And that causes a isolation that really has a lot of effects on many different aspects of life. So I'll start from different spectrums of severity and go up to more severe and explain how loneliness is a part of ME, but also some of the impacts that loneliness can have on ME. It's almost a vicious cycle, right? So you get ME, you become lonely, it makes your ME worse. Your ME being worse causes more loneliness. So it's a very difficult issue to deal with. So I think making a video and speaking about it a little bit is very important. It's not often brought up enough, and I know a lot of people have brought that up in comments, and people that I've talked to that have ME CFS is a big part of the struggle is loneliness. So even if you're mildly ill, what does that look like? And this is just my opinion. Everyone has a different idea of what the spectrum of severity is like, but mild can be someone who's dealing with fatigue, brain fog, and all the symptoms, just not to a severe enough level to where they have to completely change their life. They might be working less hours, they might get post-exertional malaise for a day or two, bounce back. They're still living a fairly functional life, but making adjustments. That already might be someone going, all right, I don't have a lot of energy. I get a lot of post-exertional malaise, so I have to prioritize my family and work. They're no longer social. Okay, there's a lot of people that aren't social, so that doesn't sound too bad. As you get into the moderate, people at this point generally no longer work or had to go to part-time and do very light work, maybe from home. They already have had to cancel on most, if not all, social events, whether it's family or friends. And at that point, you start realizing that you're detached from society a little bit. You start to miss conversations with friends. A lot of people misunderstand the illness, which that in and of itself, even if you're around people, makes you feel lonely because no one really understands, right? One thing I think everyone that has ME will agree is no one really understands, even if they have the best intention to understand, unless they have ME. That's why there's a pretty amazing community of people with ME, because I think we understand each other and no one else does. So that can cause a lot of loneliness. Even if you are physically around a lot of people, you become lonely being so misunderstood. So that's not even counting the physical isolation that you have, not being hugged by a spouse anymore because you're by yourself, and just physical contact that all humans need. And that's just in the moderate, right? You no longer have the camaraderie at work with your coworkers. You no longer, can go to the gym and see the same people you see every day, or you have a hiking crew. You get the picture. I can go on and on. So now all of that stuff that brought you so much joy has been stripped, and it's all happening rapidly. And you're also dealing with symptoms every day. You're confused on what your future might look like, and you want to get better, and you're trying as much as you can, but at the same time, you're no longer part of what your regular life used to be. So that's very impactful in the sense of isolation can worsen symptoms. It can weaken the immune system. It can cause anxiety. The list goes on and on. Cognitive decline is associated with loneliness, depression. Depression's already fairly common with someone with a chronic illness who's detached from society. So now you couple depression and loneliness plus a chronic illness, plus physically being alone, plus being misunderstood very often, it's a lot to deal with. So that, and again, that's just in the moderate, right? So if we go more towards the severe, where people are bedridden 24/7, and there are moderate people who are bedridden, 3, 4, 5 times a week, but can get up, do some things here and there, conversate with people, be a little bit social, maybe FaceTime people. Severe, they're in the room, they're not talking to anyone, they're sleeping sometimes 18 hours a day. When they're awake, they're in pain, sound, light, all these things. It gets pretty severe. And it's hard to even talk about because I know people that are that sick. They have been without human contact aside from their caregiver or immediate family for years. Just the four walls of the room, the prison that it becomes. Or there are people that are very severe that can leave the room but can't leave the house. And you may have a nice big house and a nice yard and everything, but being stuck in that same area for that long can create a lot of loneliness. So imagine being stuck in your room for years and the impacts that has on your not only your health, but on your mental health, cognitive decline, suppressed immune system. Sometimes when you're very, very lonely, you become comfortable in a weird way there and don't want to be around people anymore because you're so used to just being alone for so long. Then people sometimes tend to get social anxiety. So even if they have the ability to be around people, it's been so long since they've been social that they're uncomfortable. All of these things keep compounding on top of people, not only with ME and CFS, but just chronic illness in general. So how to solve this? Unfortunately, there really is no way to solve this. The only things that I have heard people do that has helped, not solved, but has helped, has been to be engaged in support groups, talk to people online, maybe build a relationship, FaceTime with people that have ME. You're both, maybe dealing with the same situation. You could talk. It's someone who will understand. And engaging in YouTube channels, comments, just meeting people in socials, online, and building a connection with people who are going through the same thing that you're going through. Another thing is advocacy, which is hard to do on your own, but if you have a partner, a family member, it's for people to really have a good way to understand what it is you're dealing with. And I'm hoping that the ME community keeps pushing forward to advocate and educate so that people don't make you feel lonely, right? Even if you are around a lot of people physically, if you say you have ME and you talk about what you're dealing with, they have a grasp at least of what that entails. And you don't need people's sympathy per se, but some understanding goes a long way to helping someone not feel weird and isolated and lonely. All it takes, it's amazing. All it takes is someone to go, wow, that's a lot to deal with. I'm really sorry you're dealing with ME, CFS. I bet you spend a lot of time, alone, and I bet it's been very hard for you to adjust. I'm very sorry to hear that. The difference between that and saying, just, get a girlfriend or a boyfriend and work out a little bit, change your diet, you'll be fine. We're all tired. Those are two very different ends of the spectrum as far as a response that someone who's chronically ill wants to hear. So I'm hoping that this video reminds everyone watching ME/CFS that loneliness is something that could really make your ME worse. And I know I sound pretty obvious here. I know I'm not, uncovering some amazing data here that's going to surprise you. But try your very best to join a support group. Reach out to a psychiatrist, psychologist if you can. Get things off your chest. It does help as much as possible. Try to find someone who understands. And I know that's hard to do. I know a lot of people watching may go, I've tried that. Those people turned their back on me. They said I was lazy. They said this. They said that. We've all been there. I understand how that goes. I just wanted to remind people that loneliness is this very quiet and silent I don't want to say killer, but it's a very silent and quiet uh, detriment to your overall well-being and your ME and CFS. And it goes into that cycle I was talking about earlier, where it's a vicious cycle of your ME getting worse, causing more loneliness, loneliness getting worse, causing your symptoms to get worse, and round we go. Try to address it as much as possible. Try to make it a priority. Try to find the little things that bring you joy, even if it's not what used to bring you joy. Just try as best as you can. I know it's tough. I know it's tough to find joy when you're sick all day long and your career's lost and family members, you don't talk to anymore. But I get it. I just think it's something that it tends to be taboo a little bit. No one really talks about it as much as I thought people would talk about, but that is probably one of the biggest hurdles in the ME CFS journey, is the loneliness of going to the doctor, them not understanding you, having a doctor dismiss you, having your family dismiss you, your coworkers, the company that you work for. That adds up. That's this compounding effect that really takes a toll on us mentally, emotionally, and then physically. I wish I had a suggestion and an answer to say, this is how you get rid of loneliness. Everybody do this. Unfortunately, there is no answer for that. But I do think prioritizing a way to even feel a little less lonely and to be around those who understand a little bit can really go a long way. Studies do show that. So I'll try to link some things in the description that kind of show just being around people a little bit, connecting with people a little bit, how much it can really help ease cognitive decline and the suppression of the immune system and all of these things. So I hope that everyone's doing well out there, and I hope that this journey hasn't put you in a place where you are severely lonely. That is probably the hardest part of this illness. Until next time, take care.